Hi guys, I'm Nicole Bond and I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about Formative today. This is one of the remaining webinars on our LIU LearnOn webinar series. Just really quickly, this is the team that has come together to put on our LearnOn webinar series, as well as this is the team that has collaborated to support everyone through the LearnOn website. You'll find my contact information right here. I'm Nicole Bond. I'm the Educational Technology Specialist here at Lincoln Intermediate Unit 12. If you have any questions after viewing this webinar, you're welcome to reach out to me at that email for sure. So just a couple of Zoom webinar meeting norms. One, the chat microphone and camera has been disabled due to the size of the attendee group. Today's attendee group is not quite as large, so I have left the chat open and I am putting in the slide deck if you would like to follow along in the chat. If you do have any questions, I have the Q&A pod open. Please feel free to submit those in the Q&A pod and I will do my best to answer any questions here throughout. I can also allow you to speak if you raise your hand. That will come up and I can allow you to unmute yourself. And my last reminder is to not forget that the Act 48 credit link is shared with you for your completion. So just a couple of best practice concerns I want to go over before we begin, because these may have implications for using this particular tool. First of all, the idea that less is more and that we need to prioritize and balance our curriculum. As I've said in many webinars before this one, it's really important to reflect on what it is we truly need to cover, because the truth is we are not going to cover everything we thought we would cover from the time that we have left school to the beginning of this particular year. When we use video, if we use video, we want to make sure that, as you can see, you're including your face. And whenever possible, we want to limit the length to 6 minutes or less. Try to be clear with your objectives and expectations. I always say anything online, it should be absolutely clear at the beginning what the purpose of the learning is really about and how it will be assessed right up there, straightforward. How long it's going to take students to complete every task that you're assigning, and then an organized sequence instructions. They need to be numbered so the students know what they need to do. And I always suggest at the end to include a checklist so that students, after they think they're finished, can check the box and say, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, and I did this. So it's very clear about what they're being held accountable for and what the expectation is. So a few of the webinar outcomes for today. Today we are really diving into one tool. This tool is called Formative. It used to be called Go Formative. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, they switched their name just to Formative. And it can be used for synchronous or asynchronous work. I used this tool in my classroom for several years when I was face-to-face with students. It was a way I did assessments. It was also a way I did blended learning with some of my students. So we're going to discover how to use it for synchronous and asynchronous, and then how we can use it to create assessments and other interactive materials with our students. So due to the size of the group today, I'm not going to go through this first part, but if you want to go in and see what it looks like from a student experience, I'm going to go through the slide so that you can go in. The website is called goformative.com, and up in the top corner, you'll see something that says join code. And all you have to do is click on the join code and enter this particular code, GMEXQO, and that will allow you to go into an assessment. It's a mock assessment. They're not really serious questions, and kind of see what it looks like from a student's perspective. If I were doing this live, you'd be able to see live the student work. So as a student is working, it actually shows up live, like as the words that they're typing it out, the answers that they're possibly drawing also show up as well when they use Go Formative. So Go Formative or Formative allows you to see that live progress and ID what students need to know in the moment. So it's a fabulous tool to use in the classroom for formative assessment to inform you, okay, did they get that concept before we move on or not? And it also allows you to see if students understand a concept asynchronously, because they can do it and then you can check it later. It allows you also to quickly inform your teaching. You can link questions to standards and actually track standard growth and understanding. And it can allow you to group students really quickly on the fly. I like that it does, this is kind of an image that shows you a little bit of what the standard section looks like. And I am going to go out to the website here in a moment. It helps you identify the standards that you need to really focus on based upon student averages, or how you can group students, or how you can inform collaborative planning. It does what we call kind of a bird's eye view of student growth. it automatically populates averages for you, so you don't have to average them, and it allows you to see how a student's improving or not improving with a standard across the entirety of a student's history in your class. So if you have multiple questions that you've linked to a particular standard, over the course of the year, it will track that single standard across whichever assessments you build to let you know how that student's doing with that particular standard. So to sign up to go into Go Formative, I'm gonna get you, you're gonna, let's go back here. You'll see once you go in, there is a teacher sign up. So you'll just go up here, select sign up. It'll say, I'm a teacher, I'm a student, you're a teacher, and that will bring you here. You can use Google or Clever to sign up for Go Formative, or you can create an account otherwise. It will then ask you to fill out your school and information as well as your grades and subjects. This is because there's already formatives created in here, which you can borrow from. And all you have to do is hit this plus symbol. So what I'm gonna do is go up here to my formatives so you get an idea. So once I've logged in, this is what my dashboard looks like. I go to the home, you'll see this is the first thing that comes up when I'm logged in. I'm not in premium. There's a try premium button, and it may give you a couple of days of premium when you begin, but that's the paid for service. So there's some extra bells and whistles you get with freemium. And what you'll see is anytime there's a freemium option, there's this little yellow star that comes up next to the option to let you know it's something that you get with freemium. So the awesome formative is the formative you saw if you went in and into that particular code I gave you a moment ago. And so if you're in there, you'll see what that looks like. Up here, this is the main menu. You see I have formatives, classes, tracker, and library. What I want to do is show you the formatives first, and then I'll show you how to build your classes and some of the things that you can do. So I'm going to click on new formative. And this is what it brings up. Up here it says edit, assign, view responses. And I'm right here. It says click to add new content. Once I click there, it shows me all of my content. Now again, you see that yellow star, it tells me what I can't do unless I have the premium version. So content-wise, I can add anything with an embed code. I can add images, text blocks, videos. I can even include a whiteboard. Question-wise, I can do essay and multiple choice. If I want the premium, I can do a couple of different other choices. And then I can also do multiple selection, short answer, show your work, or true or false. They have banks of existing questions. So if I were using this as an assessment, as a pre-assessment, I might go to the bank if I'm looking for something in particular. One of the things I really like about this is this right here, where you can enhance a PDF, a doc, or a Google Doc. Now it allows you to do up to 20 pages a month. So unless you're using this really, really heavily, 20 pages is a pretty good deal for embedding Google Docs and docs and PDFs. And I can show you what that looks like as well. So I just want to give you an idea. So we're just going to say multiple choice really quickly so you have an idea of what it looks like. When you embed a multiple choice question, and you'll notice I have the option of changing it up here. So if I changed my mind or accidentally clicked it, I can do that really quickly. That's where it goes. My question goes here. Up here, I can change the points. So if I want it to be worth 5 points, I can do that. I can copy it. If I want multiples of it, I can also get rid of it immediately. So I can ask my question in here. And then I can type my answers. You notice the randomizing order has a little yellow star. So that's something I would need premium for. But then I can kind of select the correct answer. And I can tag my standards down here. So what I have pulled up here are the ELA, it looks like ELA 8th grade standards, I think. And these are the CC, I think they're the Common Core, but I think the PA are in here as well. So I can add multiple standards or a single standard to this. I can get rid of, you know, if I only want it to be 3 choices, I can do that. And then I can add more. So I can do a show your work. Show your works are great for math questions. If you know your students, especially like are on an iPad with a stylus, they can actually draw, or you can edit the background and put like a picture in there that you want them to label or a diagram. I've seen educators do like the water cycle where they put an image and they have to label the diagram of the water cycle. I've had this as after reading the poem, illustrate the image that came to mind. And they use that draw, that show your work piece to do that as well. So all of those are options when it comes to the show your work. Multiple selections, just that it's like the multiple choice, only there's multiple answers. Short answer allows for short answer responses. So what is the name of hello flower that blooms first every spring? So it will look for that specifically. The one thing I will caution you on is that capital letter. So if you do short answers like this and you're looking for like kind of one-word answers, you'll have to kind of double check when student responses come in to see if it's correct or not. So for me, I like to put lowercase and then I just kind of look. But if there's multiple answers that are acceptable, you can enter multiple answers. You see it says allow partial match. That's the premium service, and that case sensitive piece as well. Down here again, I can tag my standards if I want to. And you kind of get the idea. I can embed text blocks and just type and keep adding as I want to. So I could then put a PDF in here. So that's just the general idea of how to set up a formative. If I hit assign, I can either assign it to guest students, in which case it will be open and my students will get a code and they can come in and take it. But I like to set up my classes, so I can just do it by class and add a single class if I want to from here and share it. And then after I've assigned it, I will be able to show my responses. And what I like about viewing my responses is there are a couple of ways I can do it. So you see across here, these are each of the individual questions that I posted in here to see the responses. I can also see the totals. What'll happen is the students will appear here with the totals, and then I can click through and score or see their score of their responses. I can sort them alphabetically, however I want to. So hi, last name, etc. I really like hide names though. So sometimes when I would show it to students, I would kind of mess with the sorting so it wasn't clear what the order was, and then hide the names and show them kind of how they did across it. I can also export the information if I would like to. I believe this will give me a preview as a student. So this is sort of what a student sees. I click on show your work. You'll see this is just a place for me. I can draw. That's the show your work one. You can also look, embed a picture, text, etc. So there's lots of options in there for the show your work for students. And click that check when I'm done. You'll see there's the show your work. And look, it gives me the mobile device, the iPad, and the desktop so that I can see what it looks like across multiple devices, which is kind of handy. So that's the basic of setting up your formative. You notice you can put your title here. And what I would do is in the assign is where I send it out to everyone. So I'm going to go back here to my classes so I can show you that you can import your classes as well. So you can sync this to Google Classroom. If you have a Google Classroom already set up. So I'm going to import my test class, even though I don't have any students in it, if it'll let me. Might not, since there's no students in it. All right, but you can, if you have students, and import your classes, and it'll allow you to push it right out to Google Classroom. You can also do it with your Clever roster if you want, or you can just build a new class by clicking new class. And that's exactly what it did when I went to assign, is it was going to force me to create a new class. I like to color code them. If you do subjects, it'll automatically populate with your standards and suggest information or questions that are. So I'll just do that. And I can give students a code and they will automatically join into that class. Or I can create the students and give them the information. So there's a couple of options there for setting up my classes and making sure that they're set. At the end of each year, I archive them, or each semester or period, I'd archive them. In Tracker, this is where you can actually track students' work with standards and tags, as well as the data on the formatives. And I'm going to show you some screenshots of that so you have an idea of what that looks like here in a moment. I just want to play in the website a little bit to give you an idea of what this looks like. So the library is the other thing I would like to point out to you because it's very, very helpful. What you'll notice in the library is all of these other formatives that other individuals have shared. You notice they have a ranking system and they show other people that have used them. There's a filter search. So if I'm looking for maybe, let's say I'm looking for math, I'm looking for 7th grade math. I look for 7th grade math, I might be able to find some things. So I'm looking for, let's say, something with algebra. Angle applications. So let's see what's in there. So you'll notice this is a case where she has uploaded either a Google Doc or a PDF. Let's go in here. We'll just add that and go so you can get an idea of what a PDF looks like. Now I can go up here and change some things around my titles, etc. This is what an embedded PDF looks like. It allows you to put your questions in like this, and then as students go through, they click on those numbers and they'll get access to them. So I'm going to go to the view as a student. So when I'm viewing it as a student, you'll see number 1, number 1, number 2, number 2, number 3, and a space for number 3. But that's on the computer. If I go to this, it looks a little bit different. If I go to a cell phone, it's a little bit different. So that's the basics of how to do a PDF. All you end up doing when you upload a PDF is click on it, and you can put that question wherever you want. When I taught poetry and some literature, I would sometimes put PDFs of poems in here that I knew I could do that. And then I would put the question in the poem near where the answer might be or where I want them to pause and reflect. So that's another way to kind of make some interactivity in a poem that you might be sharing, or a worksheet of some kind. I really like this form of doing the PDFs in Formative because if you set it up as a multiple choice, then it's going to score it for you. Versus some of the other PDF things that we do that maybe you have to then score what the student circled. This can maybe streamline the process a little bit. So I'm going to go back. And you'll see that's an untitled formative, and that's her formative that I borrowed. So those are the basics of what Go Formative looks like in here. I'm going to go back to the slide deck and kind of show you through how this looks. That you'll see I've labeled all the different ways that you can do things. You'll notice that there is an equation button in there for your question. So if you're looking at mathematics, you can enter it in there. I really like the ability, especially if you know your students have a tablet of some kind, the ability to draw an answer with the math equations, I think is kind of fantastic. You'll notice, I've got the information in here about how to use the different types of questions. One thing to note is with the embed code, sometimes you can embed certain things like Edpuzzle. If you've used Edpuzzle, Desmos, Buckaroo, anything that might have an embed code can technically be embedded into this formative. So just something to think about if you're building a lesson, maybe even in Wakelet, you can take the Wakelet embed codes. There's a lot of other resources you can kind of embed into formative. So there are places where students could go and do a thing and then come back to formative, and you could build your lesson really into formative if you wanted to. The idea of transforming a doc. So you'll notice here they kind of point that out where you can click in a PDF and add questions wherever you would like to, and how to assign, and where to view and act on responses. So this is the dashboard where you're going to see student growth. This is just a screenshot of what it may look like. You'll notice that the students are right here, and that you can toggle across the standards and filter by class, and that you can see individual student averages. But I really like the average for the standards that you get in through here, as well as the overall student averages. So it gives you an idea of like which class really needs to focus on a particular standard and which student needs to focus on a particular standard. And then this is just going to go over how to create classes. You guys saw new class, how to import, Clever, and you can reset passwords for students once you get them in here. And the library, which I went over as well. So I just want you to think for a minute about some of the different resources that you can use in here. I think the only thing I didn't go over, let's just go into Awesome Formative really fast since I have a second here at the end. I wasn't sure how I'd be on time. I'm gonna go down here. I think I have a PDF embedded. There we are. So you see the PDF. If I want to add questions, all I have to do is hit the plus sign and then embed the question that I want in there. So multiple choice. So I just want to give you an idea of how easy it is to put that. Once you have the PDF, you just click on it and you can add information as you would like to. So that's just a heads up on how that works since I had a moment. So if there are any questions, I'm looking in the Q&A, please feel free to populate them with any questions while I'm in here. I'd be happy to show you how to do anything maybe I didn't get a chance to cover or to answer. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. If you do have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You'll see that future webinars can be found here at the LearnOn website if you're looking for any future webinars. And as we wrap up, just a reminder that the Act 48 link will be pushed out to you so that you can complete the Act 48 link and submit it for Act 48 credit and hours. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me today to learn about Formative, and I appreciate all the things that you're doing in your classroom with your students.